And we seeing what happened. Look at Colón.
The 31-year-old Williams seemed to hit Colón with a number of rabbit punches, illegal blows to the back of the head. Williams taunted Colón, who continued complaining about the rabbit punches.
Everything changed that day, that night.
This man ain't have no kids. They don't understand, man. Y'all don't fucking understand what we go through, man. This man would never know what it feel like to be somebody's father. And that's some of the precious thing in the world, to be somebody's father. But he'll never be nobody's father, man.
The fight commenced and began like any typical match, with both boxers feeling each other out. Unfortunately, this took a major turn when Williams rabbit punched Prichard later in round 1. A rabbit punch is an illegal blow to the back of the head, named after the method hunters used to quickly kill rabbits with a strike to that area. It's viewed as a cheap, cowardly move, often intended to cause serious or even fatal damage. Round 2 began, and Terrel continued to throw illegal punches to the back of the head. He looked confused, most likely because referee Joe Cooper was doing nothing about it. Things worsened in round 3 when Williams knocked down Colón with another rabbit punch. Once again, the referee took no action. No warning, no point deduction for Williams. Instead, he deemed the knockdown a slip by Prichard. To me, it was outrageous that it had gotten this far without any action taken. The sad part was that Prichard had been performing well, demonstrating speed, agility, and especially tenacity. As round 5 started, after enduring multiple illegal blows without any penalties, Colón landed a blow on Williams. Richard Colón, Prichard's father, believed this was out of frustration, both from the referee inaction and the anger of being rabbit punched continuously. I believe it might have also been an experiment by Colón to see whether referee Cooper was biased. If that were the case, the results would show that the referee did indeed deduct 2 points from Colón, yet there was no action taken, no warning given to Terrel Williams for his illegal rabbit punches throughout the 5 rounds. After the low blow, Terrel Williams screamed and taunted with a throat-slash gesture. Round 6 was particularly aggravating to me, as referee Cooper proposed that if either fighter committed an illegal hit, such as Williams throwing a rabbit punch or Colón landing a low blow, he would disqualify both of them. This clearly indicated he was aware of the rabbit punches, yet up to that point, Williams had not been penalized at all. However, I suppose it set a clear precedent that might have made Williams reconsider his actions. Round 7 saw a lackluster performance from Colón, as the rabbit punches began to take a toll on him. Williams hit Colón again with a rabbit punch in round 7, sending Colón to the canvas as he cradled his head in agony. What happened to the referee's proposition of disqualification? Imagine going 7 rounds with multiple punches to the back of your head while the referee appears to be smirking. The audience boos you for being overdramatic. And the commentators joke about you deserving an Emmy Award.
Man, we're throwing awards all over the place.
I don't know of an Academy Award, maybe an Emmy for this one.
Okay.
This one's not quite as convincing.
Moreover, Terrel Williams shows no remorse, shouting and making the throat-slash gesture again. You could even hear referee Cooper say,
"Come on, get up,"
which I find abhorrent, as it shows how trivial the matter was to him. In the end, Terrel only had 1 point deducted. This is also when ringside physician Richard Ashby gave Colón the green light to continue fighting, advising him to just shake it off. Despite witnessing him suffer in agony on the canvas for nearly a full minute, the medical examination was described as superficial and inadequate, contrary to the black-letter standard of care. Rounds 8 and 9 were plagued by even more rabbit punches. In the 9th round, Colón was knocked down by a rabbit punch but got back up, only to be rabbit punched again later, demonstrating his perseverance as he refused to give up despite the onslaught. He was truly a champion that night, but unfortunately, Williams somehow won the bout. The apparent reason for this was that Colón's camp mistakenly unlaced his gloves. This could be seen as a blessing, as another round might have been fatal. Tragically, the Prichard we knew also died that night, as he was rushed to the hospital and diagnosed with brain bleeding. After 221 days in a coma, it became apparent that Colón was in a vegetative state, meaning he was awake but had no sense of awareness, incapacitated. The purpose of this video essay is to thoroughly dissect the tragedy and examine each party involved. One key figure is Terrel Williams, but that's just the tip of the Prichard Colon iceberg. Other parties under scrutiny include the referee, the ringside physician, and boxing promoters like Headbangers Promotions and Dibell Entertainment for their active involvement. Additionally, Virginia's Governor Terry McAuliffe, the Virginia Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, or DPOR, and DPOR Administrator David Holland are also being held accountable for their negligence and dismissal. They all played a role in allowing this tragedy to unfold. But who bears legal responsibility? If they share the same blame, how do we determine the extent of their culpability? We'll explore these questions in depth, so be sure to watch until the end to form your own perspective. The plight of Prichard Colon is the epitome of sports negligence and oversight, highlighting status quo's ongoing failure of combat sports prioritizing safety. If we look at American football, hockey, and even amateur boxing, there are clear-cut measures to ensure safety such as headgear. So in a sports like professional boxing where there are no equipment like this, it is imperative that there are rigorous rulings and contingencies put in place to ensure the safety of the athletes. A typical example that is practiced in professional boxing is the brain injury protocol. The lack of contingencies could easily put a boxer's life at risk, and those who enable such a thing to happen should be thoroughly investigated. Prichard Colon, an American-born professional boxer known for representing Puerto Rico, moved out to his homeland at the age of 14 with his father. He steadily progressed from the cadet to the youth to the adult team. He was ranked number 6 in the World Youth and number 19 in the World Adults for IBA. By that point, he had fought 185 amateur bouts with 170 wins.
185 amateur fights.
In 2013, Colon kickstarted his professional career, knocking out his opponent clean in the first round. Within 2 years, he had built an impressive streak of 16 wins. He was truly considered the next big thing, and his knockout of Vivian Harris was a testament to that. The eerie part of Colon's last fight with Terrel Williams was that it wasn't even supposed to happen. The matchup only came about after the Blake Caparello vs. Andre Dirrell fight was cancelled, leading Colon to be placed on the undercard on very short notice of 14 days. Many knew this was an intense matchup, as both Colon and Williams were undefeated, making it crucial not to fumble and tarnish their clean records. This was so unpremeditated to Colon. This remains one of boxing's biggest what-if moments. Imagine how far Prichard Colon could have gone. He had an unblemished record before he was sabotaged by a foul-plagued match with Terrell Williams. Colon saw his career come to a tragic halt after being brutally rabbit-punched by Terrell Williams in Fairfax, Virginia, leaving him in a vegetative state. It began with Prichard complaining of dizziness, followed by an unsteady walk from the ring, and ultimately resulting in vomiting and collapsing backstage. He was rushed to the emergency room, where doctors discovered he had a subdural hematoma, an accumulation of blood between the brain and its protective covering. This hematoma measured 1.5 centimeters in diameter and caused a 1.5 centimeter midline shift, meaning the swelling displaced the brain center from its normal position. If we review the lawsuit itself, filed by Colon's family, which demands a minimum settlement of $50 million, we can get a grasp for who the fingers are pointed to. Upon unveiling the lawsuit, we see the plaintiffs, who are basically the claimants, are Prichard Colon and family, of course, and Colon's legal guardian, due to Prichard's incapacitated state. And if we see just below, the lawsuit lists the defendants who are in question, which are Richard Ashby, the ringside physician, Headbanger Promotions, and Dibell Entertainment. The overarching theme of this lawsuit is that the events that occurred on October 17, 2015 in Fairfax, Virginia, were subject to these parties due to their negligence. Let's begin with the ringside physician, which is count 1 in the lawsuit file titled negligence against the healthcare providers. Richard Ashby was accused of not exercising the standard of care required towards Prichard Colon. He unequivocally allowed Prichard to continue his fight despite him saying he felt dizzy. Even if the fighter feels like they can go on, which Prichard did say, the physician is a person of authority and must rigorously guide their athlete. The lawsuit is accusing Ashby of not being proactive in recognizing the clear-cut signs of brain bleeding which Colon was exhibiting. Moreover, the document highlights that Ashby's doctor-patient relationship with Colon cements his responsibility, yet he showed incompetence when it came to it. Richard Ashby's accusations were twofold, as it also delineated a possibility that Ashby could have had ulterior motives. This pertains to the fact that Ashby was simultaneously a licensed boxing promoter, so there was speculation that there was a conflict of interest and that Ashby wanted to advance his career in boxing promotion. The report concludes by absolving Ashby of any wrongdoing, stating that he conducted an examination of Colon to the best of his ability, for instance, finding no impaired vision, clear physical injuries, and that he was deemed coherent and able to stand upright. Hence the continuation of 9 rounds. Once again, this sounds absurd, as even medical professionals believe the bout should not have continued beyond round 7. Dr. John Stiller, the chief physician of the Maryland State Athletic Commission, states that the fight should have been halted after the 7th round illegal blow, adding, "I still cannot think of a medically sound reason it wasn't." Another profound argument he makes is that, without a brain injury protocol or a well-established standard of care, the medical evaluation was insufficient from the get-go. This leads to another point that in actuality, it was incumbent on the event promoters to ensure there was a qualified ringside physician, which segues us to count number 2, negligence against the event promoters. This was on the grounds of the promoters not establishing contingencies for a potential brain injury, which is completely foreseeable in combat sports such as professional boxing. The promoters not screening whether Ashby was competent to even be the ringside physician that night, but also not investigating if there was a conflict of interest, as Ashby was clearly a licensed boxing promoter. However, the Association of Ringside Physicians, or ARP, set parameters to qualify as one, so Cooper was technically deemed as qualified. Surprisingly, all these potential culprits are said to have factored into this tragedy unfolding, as they did not take measured precautions, which could have easily prevented the incident from spiraling. To keep producing high-quality videos like this, please consider subscribing to my Patreon using the second link in the description. For now, I'll showcase names in a color-coded format based on your tier. Gold names for gold tier supporters, and so on. You can choose any tier that fits your budget. And if you decide not to, that's perfectly fine. Your support would mean a lot, and would greatly help the channel in creating better content in the future. If we zoom out and investigate outside of the lawsuit, there are clear wrongdoers involved in this case. For instance, the referee. 2 critical responsibilities of referees include issuing warnings or point deductions for fouls, and stopping the bout when a fighter's health is at risk due to additional blows. The Virginia Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, or DPOR, unleashed an investigation into the head injury and states that all in all, it was compromised due to the referee and ringside physician having a special relationship. This means that if one party was negligent, this could have played a domino effect on the other, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly what were their thought patterns that night. For instance, referee Cooper deducted 2 points from Colon for a low blow in round 5, but only 1 point off Williams in round 7 for rabbit punching, when at that point he had already done it multiple times. This is such a complex problem that many in social media have even implied that the referee's actions were influenced by racism. Nevertheless, DPOR described referee Joe Cooper as having lost control of the fight that night, specifically not calling out fouls, which is a referee's duty. So, it seems contradictory that the report concludes by clearing him of any wrongdoing. Also in the report, Dave Holland, who is the DPOR executive director, scolded the ref for not acting more stringently when breaking up the fighters and disregarding fouls, which, when we rewatched the match, was clearly inflicted on Prichard. The referee's lack of coordination let the event spiral to the point that Terrel Williams would taunt a throat slash gesture twice. Cooper clearly could have contained the fight within legal boundaries. This story is so shocking that David Holland, an acting commissioner for the DPOR, could have changed the tone of the entire thing with his comments. He reportedly instructed the staff that Colón was stalling and faking, and these remarks could have influenced the behavior of everyone present. From the referee to the commentators to the ringside physician, it felt like something was in the air that night. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe bears partial responsibility for the Prichard Colon tragedy due to his inaction and oversight regarding boxing safety in the state. Despite being an avid boxing fan and attending events, he failed to address the critical issues surrounding the bout that left Colón in a vegetative state. Notably, McAuliffe did not publicly comment on the incident or the role of boxing commissioner David Holland. The unsettling lack of intervention during the DPOR's investigation suggested an omission of athlete safety. This delineates a broader systemic issue in Virginia's boxing regulations, leaving the impression that athletes' well-being is secondary to entertainment. The report concludes by absolving Cooper, stating that his actions did not lead to any health and safety issues, which also sounds contradictory as Colón clearly experienced a traumatic brain injury, and also the department spokesperson Vaughn states that Cooper is most likely to never referee for the department again. But I thought he did nothing wrong. This report also clears ringside physician Richard Ashby. The reason given for clearing both of them is that they were considered private vendors to the DPOR, and therefore not subject to the same disciplinary actions and oversight as regular employees. Once again, this seems contradictory because, regardless of their vendor status, their contract likely included clauses requiring them to meet certain standards of care. If these standards were not fulfilled, it indicates a clear breach of their contractual obligations. This situation highlights an inconsistency and underscores the need for a system that prioritizes accountability. In my opinion, DPOR stated that they lacked jurisdiction over their vendors and could only terminate or not renew their contracts. The investigation concludes that Williams did not act appropriately. According to the report, there's no formal complaint and there doesn't seem to be any reason to start disciplinary action. Moreover, the report concluded that no one was responsible for Colón's serious condition, which is truly shocking. It stated, although Colón's medical situation after the fight with Williams is tragic, no single action stands out as obvious or severe enough to blame any individual. The review found not a single violation of regulation by anyone involved, nor did it indicate that any officials or medical staff failed to meet their duties. However, this did not change the fact that some individuals felt responsible for taking matters into their own hands. This was evident in the uproar in social media, with comments suggesting that Williams deserved jail time, along with the referee and doctor. To this day, there is still significant outrage about it, and it doesn't seem to be fading anytime soon. Terrel Williams has stated that the situation haunts him. Though there isn't a day that goes by when I'm not thinking of him, I'll be thinking of Prichard Colon every day for the rest of my life. He later describes his daily experience as a healing process. I'll be healing for the rest of my life. I honestly never wanted to fight again after that night. The animosity stems from his actions, of course, but also from his unapologetic attitude, such as saying, I understand and I know I didn't do anything wrong that night, and I was painted as a dirty fighter. I'm not, despite the fact that many observers felt he was indeed fighting dirty that night, delivering rabbit punches left and right. Moreover, Williams remarked, I have 3 boys myself, 4, 2, and a newborn. I'm putting my focus into raising my family. However, many are outraged that he speaks of wanting to move on with his life, have children, and be a man of God, while Prichard never had the chance to experience fatherhood. Deontay Wilder expressed both condolences and frustration over the incident involving Prichard Colon, stating that he felt Prichard could never experience the best feeling in the world, being a father.
But I always be an advocate for us because this man would never know what it feel like to be somebody's father. And that's some of the precious thing in the world, to be somebody's father.
9 years later, Williams continues to receive hate in his Facebook page, with comments like, I don't know how you could still be boxing after almost killing a boxer. You knew what you were doing that day, and you kept doing it. And, shady fighter, how is he not in jail? Others say, you had the audacity to claim there were 2 victims in the fight. You're a disgrace to the sport. These comments, while harsh, reflect a truth that resonates with many. What is particularly egregious is that, to this day, Williams has still not publicly apologized. This lack of acknowledgement not only reflects a failure to take accountability for his actions, but also deepens the pain for Colón's family. who are left without the closure that an apology could provide. Williams has said, "I still want to talk to Colón's family. It'll probably never happen. I'll leave everything up to them." However, he needs to understand that the Colón family may struggle to even look someone in the eyes whom they deem responsible for their suffering. The sad part is that Colón and his family did not receive justice. Was this due to the fact that he did not die as a result? Was this down to outcome-based reasoning? What is mind-boggling is that the rabbit punches could have ended fatal. Why I say that is because a similar case of a soccer player rabbit punching a referee who he was angry with died as a result of the rabbit punch, and he was close to getting second-degree murder until it was reduced to manslaughter. What is shocking is that Colón received no justice. No criminal charges were filed, no prison time was served, no disciplinary actions were taken against the referee or medical staff, and no settlement or compensation was ever provided to the family. On the bright side, despite Prichard still being in a vegetative state, unable to speak and immobile, Colón has been reported to have slightly improved since the injury. Things are looking hopeful as he's beginning to show progress. Colón receives physical therapy, and this year has demonstrated the ability to stand with minimal assistance. Prichard's mother documents his progress on Instagram, where you can see videos of him dancing with her and read heartfelt comments expressing deep admiration for his career and resilience. On his birthday last year, he was seen smiling while receiving a birthday cake and a signed boxing glove from Daddy Yankee. He's also now using a computer to enhance his communication. I wish Colón a swift recovery and send my love to his family. I hope that supporting their GoFundMe makes a difference and that this video helps keep Colón's name alive.